The original house is basically a big copper box, almost like a shipping container for living in. And that was a finite form, and it was one that I didn't want to interrupt by trying to figure out in a clumsy way how to extend it up the hill and continue it.
In the time that you've been here, how's the use of the house changed?
The original house was designed for my wife and one child, and I've grown over time, or very quickly grew over the first 3 or 4 years, to understand much better than I initially did the climate here. So the cool and cold winters, the very, very hot summers. That thought process was part of the evolution, or the me accepting that it was okay to develop a different character for the new wing of the house, given those conditions I've spoken about. The other key reason for selecting brick was that we're in a bushfire-prone environment, and I was always mindful, even way back when we designed the original house, that building that with non-combustible materials was absolutely critical. But at the same time, we could use or introduce a degree of ornamentation into that brick to play on or allow the play of light and shade against that. So textural, and then using different bonds in different locations. So using stack bond as part of joinery elements where joinery was inserted, using stretcher bond for the walls between spaces and the containing spaces, using the corbel brick where we wanted some level of patination and ornamentation, where we got very clearly defined panels or expanses of brick. And that pattern then flows through into the way in which we proportionally reduced that corbelling down and reflected that in the punching of the copper sliding gates. The fourth bond that we used was to take a brick on edge with the frogs out, accepting their inconsistencies, and we've used those on edge as you go down into the cellar and to line the cellar walls. Actually, there's a fifth, and that is that in order to keep the integrity of the material, we then use the brick on the floor of the cellar as a paving brick, so that we're not changing materials everywhere you go in every room. It's a beautiful, cool space, embedded right down deep in the rock, in the sandstone. You go to select a bottle of wine and you come back an hour and a half later because you've opened it, you've got caught up, and you start, talking about the wine and morph into other discussions.
It's like you built this house for a doomsday. Talk us through what happened when that day came.
My sense of awareness around fire and fire danger, I think it had enhanced, or become heightened rather, over the number of years we'd been here, and the fact that we hadn't had a fire and that it was inevitable, and every day that went by was a day closer to the next fire. I remember back in June saying to my wife that I could feel it in my bones that this year we were going to burn. We had no idea what was about to be unleashed on us. It was like 100 freight trains coming at us, but we could see no fire. It's like someone had sprayed the landscape with kerosene and then lit it up. It was just instantly on fire. So we worked the perimeter of the house primarily. There was nothing else we could save, and it wasn't worth contemplating trying to do anything else beyond about 15 metres around the house.
If you look at the house today, it doesn't appear to have any fire damage, is that right?
No, remarkably. I've had 2 builders, some subcontractors, roofing contractors, cladding contractors, window contractors, go over it because I needed that reassurance from a number of opinions. I think we found a couple of spots where, around the sumps in box gutters, the silicon had melted.
It's incredible that this house has survived.